I'm up to the third iteration of the theory, and that's the theory of multidimensional reality. And even since then, I've come up with when I was doing the video on it about the universe and the structure of the universe and why it was created. I've even modified my thoughts on this once I saw the pattern that made up the galaxies. They look exactly like the pattern that makes up our brain cells. So it what's true for the microscopic is true for the macroscopic. And I think we're looking at the same type of a program. It has to do with information. What I mean by information, I've read many of the comments that are on the web pages. I get notified by them what they are, and I read some of them, and I do answer some of them. And when I say information, I mean it exactly like in a computer. We're talking about bits of information. When I went through series 1 on the atom, we're talking about a lot of frequencies that make up each one of these atoms, and it's superimposed on a carrier wave, and the carrier wave is expressed by that formula, 1 over the square root of E. And that gives you the same angle of the Great Pyramid of Giza, but it's also how I have to view that toroid shape with that waveform on it to get the, 8 and 4 of the Hebrew letters. The reason I tell people that you should go also watch Series 2 on the Hebrew alphabet is because it's the hard evidence that there was a highly advanced previous civilization on the planet. And they left this technology in the cave. I don't know why they never retrieved it. Something may have happened to them. I just don't know. All I do know is that what Moses brought out there was 2 tablets with 304,805 symbols on it. And that's basically it. And nobody really knew what it was until you know what the model is that creates the letters. Then you know Moses told you the truth. He didn't write it, and he didn't create the design of the letters.
Yeah.
And no one picked up on it. The rabbis didn't. No one did. But what you're looking at is a computer program, and that's why the Library of Congress indexed it as quantum computing.
Yeah, your books get really interesting indexing, and it's not your fault. It's their judgment call.
Yeah.
Isn't that correct?
Correct. Actually, the first one, Reality Revealed, was first indexed parapsychology. Then I did a radio interview on the Laura Lee show in November of '93, and she had affiliates in and around Washington, D.C., Virginia, and Washington, Delaware. And I went to Washington, D.C. on April of '94 with my aunt, uncle, and my wife. And I went to the Library of Congress asking them why they indexed it that, because only was one chapter 7 on parapsychology. Well, she looked it up, and lo and behold, on April 4th of that month, she said one of the intelligence agencies, my guess is the CIA, had reclassified the book Q175 V64. Q175 is philosophy of science. And even my book, my second iteration of the theory, God's Day of Judgment, done in 2007, in spite of the title, which sounds a religious title, they indexed it Q175. Well, so I'm now pretty much convinced. I think the CIA, one of the intelligence agencies, looks at my stuff. I know they re-indexed it because certain categories they index and make a full-text search retrieval. They want to know which scientist is doing which kind of work and what their findings are.
Yeah, Doug, it's because
all over the world.
It's probably because you're correct. Many of your conclusions are correct. Very similar things happened to the Chan Thomas the Adam and Eve story back in the 50s. It was classified and then it was declassified recently. And so they're probably doing similar things to you.
Well,
Go ahead.
Remember, he worked for the CIA, so everything has to be suspect, but he probably is telling an alternate story. Most of the time, they will not say the sun novas. Like I mentioned in the video, after the first book was out, Reality Revealed, within a few months or a year, when I had some publicity, I got a call from first Fort Lewis, the Army in Fort Lewis, south of Tacoma, and then when I didn't go down, I didn't bite. A guy called me up, and he freely said, said retired CIA. Yeah, right. That's what he's calling me a month after I didn't go down. So, but we talked. He wanted to know, how did I figure it out? And I told him. I told him why and how. So this is what the great secret of the government is. When I said it's the greatest secret the United States has, I'm not kidding. The space program was created for that reason.
Absolutely.
Just like that letter that Ken Kuzmin had sent me, and they produced a postage stamp. I mean, within months of it, and then finally they call the Apollo mission, which is the second Greek sun god. They send the sun god to the moon to pick up the evidence that the sun knows to bring it back. I mean, it's hilarious.
It's in plain. It's in
plain
sight.
I don't know what else to say. It's just.
Yeah, it's in plain sight.
Yeah, I mean, the public broadcasting science series is called NOVA. I mean, they're beating us over the head with it. I think some of them are guilty. Yes, okay, right. The sun does NOVA. You've proven it to me.